It's my great privilege to introduce our keynote speaker, recipient of the 2012 World Trade Award, Chairman David Dreier. He was first elected to the Congress in 1980. He's often been described as the consummate free trader and the most skilled expert in the House on House rules that the body has ever known. It's allowed him to help frame the debate, during which has been arguably the most active period of trade negotiations in congressional history. China PNTR, the founding of the WTO, all subsequent U.S. free trade agreements, most recently with Panama, Colombia, and Korea. He was present when he was needed. He came and was the chief spokesperson in favor of CAFTA when everybody else had gone home one afternoon. He and Dave Camp lead the trade group of Republicans who are strong supporters of free trade and opening markets. So he's helped us to take us from an era when U.S. participation in international trade agreements might have placed us on pause permanently to restoring to the United States its leadership role that it holds today. In a city where bipartisanship can sometimes seem like an endangered species, David Dreier has managed to achieve both the respect and cooperation of colleagues from both parties and from groups on disparate sides of issues. Surely there can be very few members honored by the National Association of Manufacturers and the Sierra Club, and now by a completely nonpartisan National Foreign Trade Council. Congressman Dreier will soon be returning to California. I know of all of us will agree that Washington will be a less interesting place for your absence from your current role. Your leadership will be sorely missed, but my hope and assumption is that you will continue to contribute, and I know you will, to our country's moving forward in the cause of opening world markets. For your decades of commitment to the cause of increasing world trade, international cooperation, and economic progress, it is my great pleasure to present to you, Congressman David Dreier, the NFTC Foundation's 2012 World Trade Award.
Okay, this is it. Oh, wow, cool.
There you go.
That's cool.
Thank you very much.
I'm from Hollywood. This is nice. Actually, I will keep this, Alan. Thank you very much. I've got other big ones that I barely look at. Well, for those of you who didn't hear it, I did say I'm from Hollywood, and you know that when acceptance speeches are given within a matter of 2 minutes, the music starts. So I've got to say that the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, the former Director General of the World Trade Organization, now New Zealand's great ambassador to the United States of America, has said that if I'm truly a patriotic American, I will get up and say the patriotic thing for every single one of you to do is, at this moment, go and watch the presidential debate. And so for that reason, I am ordering Mike Moore, who wants to learn something about American politics, to get up and leave the room at this moment. So nice to see you, Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Prime Minister. Get the hell out of here, please. I also want to say that I just got off the plane a few hours ago from Tbilisi, Georgia. I flew through Munich and was there for about 5.5 hours. And one of the great things about what we are ready to embark on in the next few minutes is that, you know, sometimes you can suffer from a little jet lag, and I am assured that I will fall asleep during this 90 minutes that begins at 9 o'clock. So I'm going to provide just some brief comments and say how much I appreciate this. There are a lot of people who've told me that I'm indispensable, and Alan, you're very kind. You and Bill and everyone associated with the council have been very supportive and encouraging. But I'm reminded of the famous words of Charles de Gaulle, who said, "The cemetery is filled with indispensable people." and that is very much the case. There are so many great, talented new members, and Alan asked me to mention this. You know, when we had this group of 87 Republican members of Congress who came in, frankly, from the reports I had in the media, I was convinced that every single one of them would be carrying an Obama is a Nazi sign. I mean, it was the so-called Tea Party group, and I have been impressed with them in many ways. Not that there aren't a few outspoken people who've said some things that I would not only not say, but would not even dream of, but I will say that of that group, there are some very strong leaders on the issue around which we have rallied this evening and that the Council spends its time and effort on. But across this group of 87, and I guess we're up to 88 or 89, newly elected Republican members of Congress, they are very supportive of the issue of globalization, recognizing that breaking down barriers, creating an opportunity for the free flow of goods and services and capital and ideas is the wave of the future. To the point where, when we were dealing with the Panama, Colombia, and Korea free trade agreements, 67 of those 87 signed a letter to the President because, with all due respect, I had numerous conversations with President Obama about the issue, and one of the things he regularly said was, with all those new guys that you've got in there, we're not going to be able to have the votes for this agreement. And I consistently said, for any of the three agreements, and I consistently argued that we would not only have the vote of the Republicans, but we would have strong Democratic support. And the fact that such a large number of newly elected Republican members who had not, by and large, dealt with the issue of trade in the past, stepped up to the plate, realizing how important it is, was, I think, a very positive signal. Then, when it came to an issue that I know is of very, very great importance to the Council, and one that I was just dealing with, having spent the last, I haven't slept for 3 nights. I've been shuttling between Mr. Ivanishvili, whose party won the election. He'll become the next Prime Minister of Georgia, and Misha Saakashvili, who is the president. And Russia is one of the key issues with which they have to contend. And I should say that the Republic of Georgia was, as many of you know, the linchpin in bringing about the final accession for Russia to the World Trade Organization, and that by virtue of dealing with the border dispute that centered over Abkhazia and South Ossetia and the existence of Russian troops on the border, which are there right now. But the Swiss were able to successfully resolve that, and it allowed for Russia to accede to the World Trade Organization. And so by virtue of that, I think that we have a really very, very important opportunity to now do what we should have done before August 22nd, which is when Russia was able to join the World Trade Organization, and ensure that U.S. businesses and workers can have access to the 140 million consumers in Russia, and we need to get that done just as quickly as we possibly can. It's a high priority, and it has to be done. And let me just briefly, before we go to watch the debate, and I assure you I'm not going to fall asleep within the first 15 minutes of the debate, let me say that as we look at where we're going on the trade issue, I think it's important to recognize that, unfortunately, the Doha round is dead. Not everyone likes to say it, but I believe that it is. And we need to look to a 21st century vision of dealing with this issue. And the prime issue that needs to be addressed is the issue of cross-border data flows. And we look at this issue of information. Information is the key that is so often ignored. And right now, when you look at the storage of information, if you look at the production of information, if you look at where we stand on that issue, there are countries that unfortunately are utilizing it to jeopardize what I describe as the interdependence between political and economic liberalization. And that needs to be something that we will consistently push. And so let me say that I'm proud to break all kinds of records, and I'm sure that this evening I am giving the single shortest keynote address that has ever been delivered at a council dinner. And I appreciate the fact that you all overdressed this evening for the event. And I will say again, thank you for this. And even though I am going to be leaving Congress in January of this year, I will remain dedicated passionately to the goal that I've had since my old professor, Peter Drucker, out in college at Claremont, taught me about the necessity for us to break down these barriers to encourage for the free flow of goods, services, capital, ideas, and people as well. And one of the things that that Alan has pointed to in the study that he's working on right now, this great tome that's coming out, is it's not simply trade policy. We need to look at tax policy. We need to look at education. We need to look at infrastructure. There are a wide range of things that need to be addressed so that we can accomplish that shared goal that we have. The music hasn't started, as it does in my home of Hollywood, but I will nevertheless say thank you very, very much to every single one of you for this.